Alright guys, now it's time for another video. It's the beginning of the Chinese Lunar New Year coming very soon in 2025, and right now when everybody is in the celebration mode, what do they usually look out for? They look out for, yes, predictions of how this year is going to do, be it in your career, in your wealth, and also, especially if you're looking for that property, this might just help you just to have a very hot year in 2025, the year of the Serpent. So if we take a look at what is happening right now in the news, just yesterday I was reading this piece of news that says that be prepared for twist and turn in 2025, in the year of the snake. And they did mention that investors will have to look forward, but in a volatility manner, because Donald Trump has just been sworn in as the president of the United States, and his policies are at the moment still, yes, a little bit confusing. So let me just show you what is really happening right now in the geopolitical landscape. Very simple. Why we want to look at geopolitical landscape? Because it affects property prices and it affects policy, which will have an impact on property prices. That's why when we see the general election news happening right now, just recently, they just announced that they are very likely to see the election possibly around in May, right? And these are the predictions that is done by not me, but really by the political observers, people like former MPs. And if that's the case, what do you think is going to happen to our property landscape? Would they want to announce some kind of cooling measures before or after, right? Whatever the decision is, I think what is important is there will be some announcement of some news that will definitely impact property prices. So that's something that you should really be taking note of. Now, just now I did mention about Donald Trump assumes the role of the president. And what is the number one thing that he was running on during his presidency? Yes, tariffs. So to keep it simple, tariffs will basically just increase the cost for the normal Americans. If you just Google for any video, you will see that that is what tariffs is going to do. It's going to bring up the cost of living. So when the cost of living goes up, inflation is going to happen. And usually when inflation is going to happen, what's going to happen next is interest rates will be the very first thing usually the central bank will do to solve a very high inflationary problem right now in the country. But at the moment, we don't see this yet. Okay, and this is where it becomes very interesting, because right now he did say something that the Fed were going to cut rates earlier on. We read news that the Federal Reserve, the central bank of the US, is probably going to cut rates. Okay, 4 times, 6 times, 8 times, whatever it is. But right now, you can see the news that they think that they do not believe the Fed will cut rates in 2025. However, if that is so, you should see interest rate remain the same or increase. Isn't that so? But it's interestingly, if you look at our interest rates, okay, especially in Singapore, because Singapore is basically a price taker. So whatever the interest rate is going to be affected is increased in the States, is going to be increased in Singapore as well. And in fact, I share in my previous videos that although the interest rates are on a falling trend line from January 2024, right now the 3-month SORA has gone down from 3.6, 3.7%, has gone down to roughly about 3.1, 3%. So if in December that is the news, when we read things like in January that the Fed is not going to cut rates, what's going to happen? Rates are likely either going to stay put or they're going to increase. However, I just pull out just in January, just recently, look at the 3-month SORA. It has already broken the 3% mark. Now it's 2.96%. In fact, if you look for a fixed rate, okay, chances are you can get somewhere around the 2.5, 2.6% for fixed interest rate. So what does that bring us? Okay? In short, we are now in a very, I would say, in a very confused mode. Okay? We are really in a very confused situation right now. Because at one point, we thought the interest rate is going to drop. Then there's news that interest rate is going to increase. Then the interest rate really dropped. And the other point, there are many different kinds of political news that will also impact how the interest rate will run, and that will also impact how the property prices are going to go. So, is confusion of the situation a good thing? I think depends. If you are a consumer, I think you have what is here. It says opportunity. When there's confusion, I believe as a consumer, you have opportunity. Let me share more with you why I think so. Now, if you look at this, developers are actually rushing to launch, right? So you must ask yourself this question: why are they rushing to launch? Even though that there might be some cooling measures coming, it could be that. But actually, if you think carefully, the real reason, right? If you look at it, last quarter, right? All the developers, 6 of the projects, all rushed to launch. And you guess what? Out of the 6 projects, all these 4 projects all sold very well. Look at Chuan Park. Chuan Park sold 79%. Look at Emerald Katong, almost sold out during the launch weekend. Nava Grove, 70%. Norwood, 83%. And all these are fantastic numbers. Remember the beginning of the year, we are looking at numbers at 20-30%. At this kind of rate, do you think the developer is actually eager to sell, or they want to sit back and wait and look at what's going to happen next? Right? So if you don't know, this year we are going to have a bumper amount of units that's going to be launched. 32 projects, about 12,850 units that's going to be launched just this year alone of new launches. So what does that even mean? 12,500 units of launching. It means that if you look at typically in a single year, what kind of inventory are we looking at? So if you look at a single year, we are actually consuming year to year, we are actually selling for about close to 6,000, 6,000, 7,000. Right? So what does it mean? A launch of 12,000 means it is actually increasing. Right? And when they increase, what is there for you to watch out? Now, this is something that you need to take note of when there is this supply in the market. Just when you look at this thing, is if you can not watch anything, but just remember just this key thing alone, I think it will help you visualize and help you strategize and to figure out where the property market is moving into in 2025. Okay, so these are the key things. I actually sketched it out by year, 2017, 18, 19. In 2017, we have a change of SSD. Okay, it's actually a reverse from 4 years to 3 years. So good news or bad news? Good news, right? Because now it's less punitive. So naturally, when this is happening, market pick up. And you can see here, I charted down all the different years and I charted down to let you see. So from 2017, the SSD actually reduced from 4 years to 3 years. We saw the market picking up. Then in July 2018, there were cooling measures. So when the market becomes too hot, cooling measures come in and they start to slow down. You can see over here. Okay, 2018, it'll start to slow down. Now 2019 is where it's interesting because it's the highest interest rate of 3.2%. So this actually charts the price versus the interest rate. So these are interest rate. And in 2018, you can see it went as high as 3.2%. And then what happens? When the interest rate becomes very high, people are fearful. And when people are fearful, people will start to cool off the market. Now look at what happens in 2020. COVID came in. And in order to combat COVID, one of the key things that the government put in place is a low interest rate. So interest rate indeed, right, because of COVID, it actually dropped all the way down. And look at what happened when the interest rate dropped. Interest rate dropped, property prices surged up. In fact, it surged up by all the way about 54%. Now, it's very interesting to look at this also, that when the interest rate dropped, it also coincides with the GDP. In fact, this period in 2020, GDP is negative 3.9%. All right, so if you look at the way that GDP performs, when the GDP has this dip, typically it becomes what we call a GDP gap. All right, and when 2022, 23, 24, you know what happens then, right? Okay, market run away. So 25 is something that is still what we call a very uncertain period. So will property market actually go up or go down? Let me just point out to you right here. Right now, our interest rate is at an all-time high. In fact, if you look, this has been the highest interest rate here, and the last time it was so high probably is really before the global financial crisis, where the interest rate was really, really very high. So when the interest rate is so high now, what is going to happen? Will the interest rate start to drop? Will the interest rate maintain? Or will the interest rate start to go up? Now that's what I call confusion, uncertainty and confusion in the market. And that is going to help the consumer more. So who is going to be more fearful of what's going to happen next? The developer or the consumer? So hold that thought, right? Now, another fundamental that every time when I share is always know that even though we are at an all-time high now, okay, remember your high is higher, the next high is always higher than the current high. Imagine you're back in 2010 and you're looking at the per square foot. You're looking at property prices. You say, this is very high. Property prices maybe will go down. But look at what happened. Okay, because of the unique nature of property in Singapore, property prices will go up. So that's why the next high will always be higher than the current high. And it's the same that goes for the low. So even though you have a very low point, the next low will always higher than the previous low. Alright, so it's always higher. Okay, that is one of the key fundamentals of the Singapore property market. Now, why do I share with you this thing? Because I have a customer which since 2011 I've been serving, and until now still choose not to buy anything. And the reason is she just wanted to continue and believe that prices are going to go this way, right? Now, I won't say, I cannot guarantee that it won't go this way, but how many years has it been? From year 2000 until year 2024 is 25 years. Let me ask you, right? How many years of investable time do you have for property? How many years can you really play property in Singapore context? 20 years? 30 years? 40 years? Most people get their property at the age of, let's say, 30. You start all family, 30. And by the time when you reach the age of 55, do you think you will be more inclined to buy property at 55, or you'll be less inclined to buy property at 55? You'll be less, right? So actual fact, if you look at how the game is played, you only have about 20 to 25 years of window to play. And my friend, right here is already 24, 25 years. Has the 24, 25 years shown anything of a trend that makes you think otherwise? I'll let you decide. Right? So not to just to share with you that even this article is echoing the same kind of story, same kind of results of the property market, because it says here, I picked from the article, an individual waiting on the site to buy private home for your own stay will hugely regret not acting sooner to buy the property. So still the same person is probably wiser by not having the regret. Bite the bullet and buy a home today. Okay? Because why? Property is like that. Time in property is always better than timing the property market. I think you heard that not only from me and from many really expert voices in the property market will have told you that. So you tell me, Pete, there's a lot of unsold inventory in the market right now, right? So I will just wait and see, because people will start to do fire sale. But how many inventory are there in the market? Did you actually go and look at the numbers? In fact, the real numbers right now, we actually from Q4, we have about 19,000 units. Is that a lot? Let me put that into perspective for you, because 19,000 units will spread out across the CCR, the central region, the core central region, the city fringe, the city fringe, and outside of the city fringe, the rest of Singapore. Now, judging from a 10-year sales cycle, we know that the core central city area will consume probably around 1,002. The RACR, which is the city fringe, about 3,005. OCR was about 4,006. And if I break down the Q4 numbers of 19,000 into its subset, look at this. For OCR, in 1 year's time, we will have consumed everything. Look at RCR. Also in 1.8 years' time, not even 2 years' time, all the units will be sold. Now let me put that into another perspective for you. We are now at 19,000. Where was that? Very, very high. When it was very, very high last time, if you take a look, it was 30, 33, 36,000 units out in the market. Did the inventory get stuck there and keep on building? No. You can see that year on year, the inventory just keep dropping. So are we going to see the same here? Or are we suddenly going to see this going up? I'll let you decide. Now let's look at numbers. So from 2019, we have a total supply of 49,000, unsold supply 30K. Right now, in Q4 2024, we have a total supply of 35,000, unsold supply of 19K, which I just shared with you. Look at these numbers. Do you think these numbers will not be able to be sold? I'll leave it to you. Okay? Now to put that into perspective, you see what is the every year-on-year sales of new sales volume. If you look at that, for the past 3 years, we are looking at 7,000 units every year. Now, at 3 years average sales unit of 6,000, you will have already cleared off all the remaining inventory. Now, is that a lot of inventory for you? I don't know. In fact, if you look at this, one of the years, it has even went all the way to 22,000. It has all the way went to 14,000, 16,000, 15,000. What if it's also like that? Will it be able to clear off in 1 year? No, that is something for you to think about. So prices, some people, people always tell me, Pete, the prices are very expensive right now. But let's look at what the people are buying. Because why? Willing buyer, willing seller, willing buyer. I'm sure when you buy a property that is 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, I'm sure you will buy it because you willingly want to buy it. Right to say? That's why when you look at this, new launch pricing have already crossed $3,000 per square foot for the CCR. And in fact, if you look at the OCR, all the rest of the region, all the rest of the Singapore in the outskirts is already 2002. In fact, it went all the way to 2003 in November. So is 2002 going to be a steady state? Let's look at individual breakdown, right? Okay, if you look at the resale market, right in the OCR, Park Clementis is a resale condominium. These are numbers that shows that has been transacted. 2003, 2003, 2003. It's already transacted. 2003. And let's look at what the units are being listed for. In the units that is available for Park Clementis right now, people are calling at 2007, 2004, 2004, 2004, 2004, 2004. Now that is real, because when there is a willing buyer, there is a willing seller. Now let's take a look at another region, let's say Clap 1. Same thing, 2001, 2002, 2003. And what are they calling for? They are calling for 2004. So my friends, 2003, 2004 is no longer something that is not acceptable, because it has already been accepted in the market, because these are transactions that is already done. So let's take a look at where else in Singapore and what are the prices that they are going on. Let's look at the Lentor area. The Lentor cluster, remember the Lentor cluster, we have all these condominiums. The average prices are already going 2002, 2002, 2001, 2002. So am I right to say that the data is showing something that is more or less correct? Mind you, it's an average, and this is like OCR up in the north in Lentor, and it's already transacting at 2002. These are all done deal. If you look at somewhere in the west, it's already done 2001, touching to 2002 already. Things like Sora, things like Lake Garden, even other non-traditional clusters like Chuan Park. Look at Chuan Park. Average price already done deal 2005. My friend, it's already 2005. Hill Haven, Miss, all transacting at 2001. So what does this tell us? Is the market ready to accept the price? Let's take a look at all around. You might think that maybe only 1 or 2 or 3. Let's look at Lentor cluster. Lentor cluster already has 74 buyers, already pushing 2004. And there are actually 6 buyers that is buying things at 2005 per square foot. Let's look at Jurong. Like I say, already 29 buyers buying at 2003. And 2 and 3 buyers are all 2004, 2005. And how about in the Bukit Batok, Bukit Panjang area, the Miss, Hill Haven, Botany, 34 buyers are already crossing the 2003 mark. And how about Chuan Park? Like I said, Chuan Park, 139 buyers, has bought at $2,600 per square foot. And that's Chuan Park. Alright, so what does that show you? Did somebody like really buy something that is a wrong price, or all these people bought something that is still the correct price? So that's why I say, when the market right now, we are actually having confusion. When there's confusion, I think there is something called opportunity. Why? That's why all this I showed you earlier start to rush out. The developers start to rush out. 6 projects. In the last quarter, in November, December, they rush out all the projects. Why? When all of them rush out the projects, what do you think? Are you going to price it as a developer at a very, very super high price? If you are a buyer, if you look at 6 developments being launched, you price at super high price, what is it going to do? What are you going to do? You can always go to another development, go to another condo, which has a better price. That is why when there's a lot of development launching, is where an opportunity is open for you. Because the developer will have fear, because they are confused. So in this situation, in this market where it's very confusing, the buyers are the ones that have opportunity. Alright? So things like a big integrated development in Tampines, Park Town, is going to be launching in February together with Alta and together with Oriel. So developers are all trying to launch early. Why? Because they are confused. You never know that what is going to bring, maybe after May, after possibly the election, or maybe some policies that Trump decided to implement in the next month, the next 2 months. That is the reason why when the developer is ready, they are rushing and pushing out the projects. Now that gives you one very, very unfair advantage. Your unfair advantage is when there is competition between developers launching in the same month, what are the prices that you are likely going to be getting? A correct entry price or an expensive entry price? I'll let you decide on that when there is this competition. Now in March, we are actually looking at also Oriel. Oriel will be Golden Mile. It will be very iconic. One of the best view you can see down here when they render this artist impression is one of the best view of the Bay Area. And Lentor Central Residence is probably going to also launching in March. Remember, the Lentor cluster has consistently now transacted 2002 already. Given that when there is additional launches coming in, more pressure, more competition, do you think as a consumer you have an advantage? Together with that, we also have an ultra luxe project launching. So this one, not for the layman consumer, is really an ultra luxe project. We're looking at some very big 4-plate development, looking at $20 million for this project. Now, moving on from February, we're looking in March and April. What is going to happen? A huge project, Marina Gardens Lane, is going to launch. It's going to be one of these iconic projects that we're launching in the Marina Gardens. One of the pioneer first mover advantage. Okay? And if you have been following my video, you will know what I feel about this developer, what kind of pricing they are going to be pricing during launch. Possibly, okay, if my historical data study of them, okay, just click and maintain, it's likely they're going to launch at a correct entry price in the beginning. Now we also have Arena East in District 15, and we also have Bloomsbury. This is the very interesting project in the One North Precinct, launching in the Media Circle area. Okay, these are more projects. So you can see that there are many more projects launching very soon, okay, in just the first half of 2025. So again, do not be confused, remember, because confused is equals to opportunity for you. Confusion is for the developer right now. But the window of opportunity cannot open forever. Why? Because when the interest rates starts to fall, you know what's going to happen to prices. Okay, so if you remember my interest rate, when interest rates, every time when there's a high and interest rates start to come down, prices will run away. The last time during the COVID, runaway was 54%. The last round of high interest rate was before the GFC. When the interest rate came down just to tackle the financial crisis, look at what happened to prices of property. It ramped up all the way by more than 80%. So what are we situation we're having here now? You should know that we are at an elevated interest rate environment. It's already showing the trend that is going this way. If I am right, interest rate correction comes at a very fast rate. That's why I say your window is actually very small. In fact, it is closing probably very soon. So if you are not ready, then don't buy any property. But the sad thing is, just like my friend who has not buy any property since 2011 until now, just because they believe that property prices will keep on going down, I can tell you one thing for sure: you are going to miss that boat again. But right now, the opportunity is there. So this is my QR code on the screen right here. Okay, remember, if you are ready and you want to explore what are the correct entry price, low-hanging fruits units that are still available in the market right now, and what are the projects that I think is possibly likely going to give you the correct entry price, right, simply give me a call. Right, this is Pete, helping you take the next step with Singapore Property Pro, and I'll see you in the next video.